Okay, so now we have an order, right? We created an order which came out as 2403A, and we processed that to create a marker. Okay, this is an empty marker. This is not laid. This is for you to now go in and edit. Okay, so we can, if we double click this, the default should open it in easy marking, but just to make sure, we can right click and open with easy marking. Okay, just like we do with pattern design, there's multiple options. Marker making is also a program, which is very similar. It's older. I don't know if any of you have accidentally opened your model editor or your order in the old system, but they still allow you um, to open in the older systems, but I want you guys to learn the new layouts, okay? So this is our marker. All right, so just to give you kind of a tour around, up here we have our model as our tab. Okay, you always make sure you have the correct model open, or correct marker open. You have all of your sizes listed here, okay? And then you have the number of pieces per size, right? So we had entered 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. So you see now with my front and back pieces, I have 1 and 1 flip, 2 and 2 flipped, 3 and 3 flipped. Okay, so this represents your dashed column in your model editor, and this represents your flipped column. Okay, for your waistbands, you just have 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. There's no flips. Okay, so then down here in the green, this is your marker. Okay, this is your fabric width. And then you'll see over here, if you zoom in, you have these utilization trackers. Okay, so this starts to tell you if you get all of your pieces in before here, you're above 90%. Here, 85%. Here, 80%. Okay, but to tell what your utilization is as you work, down here at the bottom, you have lots of numbers working for you. Okay, so this CU is your current utilization. So as you start placing pieces, this will start to change. But it really isn't helpful until you have all of your pieces placed. Okay, and we're always aiming for somewhere around or above 80%. Obviously, this will change depending on the fabric width, and if you have any really wide pieces or biased pieces that take up a lot of space and don't allow you to squeeze other pieces in. As you work, also your marker length will change. Okay, so this will update, and this length we can use to calculate average cost per garments. Okay, which I've asked for in some of your recent homeworks to calculate. If you know your total length for however many pieces we've laid, you can then divide that to find an average per one garment, and then multiply that by your fabric price. Okay, so and then you have your fabric width here, so you can change your fabric width in here. You don't have to go back to your order to change it and reprocess it. So just know that, okay? So we have a lot of options up here, but before we get into options, I mostly want to just show you how to lay your pieces in the marker, okay? So the first thing you do to get them to come down from this menu into your marker space is to click on the number below the piece that you want, okay? So if I click on this 1, you see I get an extra small back piece. It says in white right there what my piece name is, and then it says extra small, and the A just indicates these letters right here. Okay, so that just says like this is from your row A, B, D, G, I. Okay, so if you look at this piece, it is sort of like sheer, right? It's kind of like a purple see-through. All right, when you see pieces like this, they are not laid in your marker. Even though it's sitting in my marker, it is not properly placed, okay? If I tried to save this, it would say, you haven't placed all your pieces. So to place a piece in a marker, you can click and hold, and you're gonna drag your mouse. And as you drag your mouse, you see this black line, okay? And so the trick here is that you want to drag towards the corner or other pieces that you want to snap your piece into. And the program will automatically snap it as close to wherever you're pointing as possible, okay? So if I do this and I let go, okay, you see my piece turn to a solid color, and I got this new line, this new green line on my marker here. This tells me that this is the length of my marker right now. It's 1 yard, about like 1 yard and a few inches, okay? And you see now I have a utilization because I've actually laid a piece, all right? So as I do this, right, so this piece is not laid, but if I click and drag and release, it snaps it as close to this other piece as possible, right? All right, so you can continue to do this, continue to lay these pieces. You can bring them down one at a time. If you want to bring down all your pieces to release them, you can right click and hold and lasso all of your numbers, and all of your pieces will come out attached to your cursor. So you still have to take them and lay them and move them, but at least they're kind of all there. So like, for example, when I was laying this marker the first time, I brought them all out and I kind of lined up my waistbands because I wanted to see, I was trying to squeeze them into different places, and the front waistband is, or one of the waistbands is smaller, shorter than the other waistband, and so I was able to kind of pick and choose the rectangle that I thought would fit best, okay? So then you can just kind of start laying pieces, but there's obviously a method to making this work best for you, right? So like over here, I'm wasting a lot of space because these two pieces are meeting at the rise, okay? So I may be better off actually using like a piece like this. Oops. So this one won't slide in because there's not enough room for it. So if you try to slide a piece in somewhere where there isn't room, you may have to move another piece to make room for it, okay? But so see, when I did this, I'm wasting way less space here, right? So there are methods to kind of making this work best for you, okay? Now, let's say you're laying a marker like this and you are like, okay, this is fine, but I need, you're getting towards the end and you're like, I need a piece that's in a different direction. So you can flip pieces within reason, okay? So the flip tool or the rotate tool is right here in your quick access toolbar. So when you click on the drop down, you have lots of options. The default option, the option that will almost always let you rotate, is the 180, okay? So if I choose 180, and now my tool to actually use it is to right click. So if I right click on this piece, it's gonna flip 180 degrees. It's going to rotate 180 degrees, okay? The reason this is possible is because I'm not actually flipping my piece about an axis, right? I had already determined my flips in my model editor, so I don't want to negate that because I might end up with too many left sides and not enough right sides, right? So, but I can flip it so that my leg bottom is facing this way or my leg bottom is facing this way. So that's what the 180 lets you do. You can also flip in 90 or 45 degree angles. The problem is though, if I just choose 90 and I right click my piece, it's not going to let me because that's not a natural flip or rotate because it will go against what I've set as my grain line, right? So my grain line is this way on my piece, and this is my fabric, which my grain line runs horizontal on my fabric when it's laid like this. So if I rotate my piece 90 degrees, my pant leg will no longer be along the grain. So I would never want to actually do that. So that's why the system won't let you do that. If you have a piece like a waistband or a belt loop or something like that, and you're not using a stretch fabric, we do sometimes allow to rotate those 90 degrees to be able to fit them better. Okay, this wouldn't be a case because these leggings are stretch. But if you wanted to do that, you could click on this global override button. It's a big yellow exclamation point. If you choose that, then essentially what I'm saying is I know I'm overriding the system. I know I want to rotate my pieces 90 degrees, okay? So if I do that and I right click on this piece, it turns my waistbands the other direction, right? And so I can fit them a lot better if I do this, okay? However, again, in this case, I would not want to do that because my waistbands would not stretch and they would not fit, okay? So I'm going to flip all of these back, undo my global override, and go back to 180, okay? So 180 is perfectly fine, okay? Because now I have freedom to kind of make these work for me. Let's see, okay? So you'll see sometimes when you're flipping, when you're, what am I trying to say? When you're snapping the pieces in, they may get caught on something. Like maybe I want this to come here, but really it gets stuck in here, right? It's really sensitive to where you drop your mouse. So if that happens, just pick it up again and move it a little bit closer to where you wanted it to go originally, okay? And so you can just keep doing this, oops, until all your pieces are placed, okay? And so you'll see your utilization will continue to grow, your length will continue to grow, and you go until you have a marker that you're happy with or a utilization that you're happy with, okay? Once you have all of your pieces laid and you're happy, you can click Save. If you haven't placed all your pieces, you can still say, yes, I want to store it so I can come back and work on it. You can also save as and name it something else. So let's say you laid all your pieces and you're at like 79%. You're like, well, let me see if I can get a little bit better. So in that case, I would save it and then save as to make essentially a new marker. And then you can move pieces around and not lose the marker that you had laid previously. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm saving this. Yes. I'm going to close it. Yes. And so now you'll see in your storage area in AccuMark Explorer, when you have your marker highlighted, you have a preview over here of the marker that you've laid thus far. So you can still see all my pieces I haven't laid yet, okay? So that kind of lets you know this is a marker that you've been working on, all right? A few more things since we have a second. If you want to return your pieces, okay, let's say you've made a mess here or you just want to start over from scratch, under the piece menu, return, you have some options. So you can return all. This will return everything even if you've placed it. You can return one piece at a time. Just click the piece and it goes back into the menu to the size in which it belongs, okay? Or you can return unplaced pieces, okay? So if you didn't mean to bring all your pieces down or it's too many, you can just return unplaced pieces, all right? Under the fabric menu, you can apply a fabric to your background. So if you were doing if you were doing a print placement, right? So let's say I wanted this whole thing to stretch out across my entire width of my fabric. I could do this. I don't know what the scale of this is, so it might look a little stretched. But essentially you can enter the width and height. Yeah, I got a little smushed, but of your fabric,